He said he was going to visit his family 600 kilometers away. I said, "Drive safe." But I didn't know he was going to spend the weekend drinking wine with his ex, on a restaurant patio, 2 blocks from where I worked. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just took a picture. And planned my revenge. Oh, and when it hit, he never saw it coming. If you've ever been betrayed, cheated on, or underestimated, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. This isn't just a cheating story. This is a blueprint for how to destroy a man, with receipts, class, and perfect timing. Hey, I'm Rachel. I'm 29 now, but this happened when I was 25. Back then, I lived with my boyfriend of almost 3 years. His name was Jason. We had a decent apartment in a mid-sized city, nothing fancy, but comfortable. We weren't rich, but we were stable. I had a marketing job with flexible hours. He worked in IT for a local insurance company. We split rent. We split groceries. We even shared a dog, Bella. She was mine originally, but he loved her like she was ours. Jason was charming when we met. Funny. Kind. Smart in that quietly competent way. He was 2 years older than me, and back then, that felt like wisdom. But here's the thing about charm. It can hide rot underneath. There were cracks in the relationship, little ones. He got distant sometimes. Flaky. Overly defensive when I asked where he'd been or why he didn't reply for hours. But I didn't want to be that girl, the clingy one. So I let it slide. Until the weekend that changed everything. It started when Jason told me he was going to visit his parents, about 600 kilometers away. Said his dad had been sick, and he needed to help around the house. Made sense. We weren't doing great emotionally. We hadn't been intimate in weeks. And he'd been staying out late, blowing off steam. But this felt like space. Maybe what we needed. He packed a bag, kissed Bella on the head, gave me a distracted hug. Back Sunday night, he said. I said, "Drive safe." I was walking back from a coffee meeting with a freelance client. I turned a corner near a restaurant patio I loved, and saw a couple laughing over wine and oysters. It was him, Jason, with his ex, Hannah. I knew her face from old Facebook posts he never bothered to delete. They weren't hugging. They weren't talking. They were on a freaking date. Froze. Stared. Didn't even move for a full minute. Then I did the one thing I'm still proud of to this day. I pulled out my phone and took pictures. I didn't confront him. I didn't march over. I didn't cry. I turned around, went home, and started planning. You see, Jason was the only one on our lease. Month to month, required 60 days notice. But I had a little secret. The landlord loved me. I watered his plants when he was out of town. I once found his lost dog. And when I explained carefully what I needed, he said yes. I gave my 60 days notice. I found a new apartment by myself. And over the next few weeks I played the long game. Acted normal. Little cold, sure. But I suggested couples therapy. Asked about his dad. Told him I was working late. Meanwhile, I packed up what was mine, arranged movers, hid things in storage, and waited. By the time Jason returned from his trip, I had already signed my new lease. I let him think everything was fine, that we were trying again. But every late night with his ex, every lie he told me, every fake smile, I used it to build the moment I would blow it all up. The funny thing about betrayal, when you see it with your own eyes, something inside you snaps. But not always in the screaming, wine glass throwing way people imagine. Sometimes your heart just goes cold. That was me. For the next 2 weeks after Jason's trip, I became the calmest version of myself I'd ever been. I cooked, folded laundry. I asked how his dad was doing. I even made him tea when he said he had a headache. All the while, I was erasing myself from that apartment. Quietly, thoroughly, completely. I sorted everything by ownership. Furniture. He just helped assemble it. Appliances. I had receipts. Dishes, cookware, bed sheets, throw pillows, all mine. Bella's toys. her vet bills, my name, even the freaking Netflix account, my email, my credit card. The only thing that wasn't mine. And that I was finally okay with. Jason, in classic guilty cheater fashion, started acting better. He cooked dinner twice that month, which was twice more than usual. He brought home a random bouquet of flowers. Said things like, "I know we've had a rough patch, but I think we're getting through it." He nodded. Mile. Let him believe that. Because I needed him to stay off guard, just a little longer. Meanwhile, my landlord and I were coordinating like spies. He scheduled unit tours only when Jason was at work. Prospective renters came and went, and Jason never noticed. The moving crew was booked for early morning on the 1st. I arranged everything to be packed and out before Jason's first coffee of the day. I still remember the last normal night. He kissed me on the forehead, told me he might be out late the next day with coworkers. "Go ahead," I said. "I've got some packing to do for work stuff." He didn't even ask what. He didn't know that the next morning, he wouldn't have a girlfriend, or a place to live. Moving day. It was cold. Still dark out when the movers arrived. I handed them my labeled boxes. Everything was ready. It was surgical. My clothes, books, electronics. Gone in 90 minutes. Bella. Already at my new place with my friend Sarah. I left one thing behind. A manila folder. Inside. The photos I took of Jason and Hannah. Dated, time-stamped, printed. Next to them a handwritten note. "Hope your dad is feeling better." He looked great on the patio. Around 10:30 a.m., Jason walked through the door, early. I'll never forget the way his footsteps paused in the hallway. No couch, no TV, no bed. Just a pile of his clothes and random toiletries in the corner. And the folder. I was sitting on the kitchen counter when he walked in. "What the hell is this?" I didn't yell. "It's exactly what it looks like." He grabbed the folder, flipped it open. His eyes scanned the photos. His jaw dropped. "I can explain. I'm not here for explanations." Understood. Handed him a copy of the lease. "You're not on it." It was. Gave notice. "The new tenants move in tomorrow." "Wait, you're kicking me out." "No. The landlord is. You have until midnight to be out. Or your stuff hits the curb." He looked around in disbelief. "You can't do this." Smiled. "I already did." Jason thought this was the end. But it was just phase 1. Because he didn't just cheat on me, he disrespected me. So next, I hit him where it hurts the most. His job. His reputation. His ego. By the time I moved out and handed Jason those photos, I'd already erased myself from his life. No keys. No accounts. No shared furniture. Even our vet. I moved Bella's records that morning. And I could have stopped there. Let him sit in the silence of an empty apartment, alone with the echoes of his own betrayal. But nah. Because Jason's betrayal wasn't just personal. He lied to everyone, friends, co-workers, even his parents. And karma. She needed a little push. Started small. A few of our mutual friends reached out, asking why I'd moved out so suddenly. Jason was saying things like, "Rachel's been dealing with anxiety. We just needed space. She left to find herself." Could have stayed quiet. But then one of my closest friends, Zoe, told me the kicker. "He's been telling people you cheated. That you left him for someone else." Game. That night, I sent Zoe a little care package. Paperclip photo of Jason and his ex on the patio. Paperclip screenshot of his text saying he was visiting his dad. Paperclip a picture of the manila folder I left behind. I didn't even need to say anything. Within hours. She forwarded it to our group chat. Jason went radio silent. Then, one by one, people started messaging me. "Wait, he said you were the one cheating. He told us you had a breakdown. I can't believe he flipped it all like that." Turns out Jason had always been a storyteller, and not the good kind. But here's where it gets fun. Jason worked in IT for a mid-sized insurance company. And every year they did a charity gala, where employees could bring guests, mingle with clients, and get a little too drunk under twinkle lights. And guess who got invited every year like clockwork? Me. Because Jason wasn't just liked at work. He bragged about us as the solid couple. I'd helped him write his last 2 performance self-evals. He once called me his emotional support manager. So when the invites came out for the gala, RSVP'd, loan. Now before you think this is about being petty, let me explain. I didn't go to make a scene. I didn't even go to talk to him. I went because I'd earned that space. And because sometimes, the best revenge is letting people see the truth unfold for themselves. I wore a black silk dress, red lipstick, walked in, made polite conversation, hugged his boss's wife. Jason showed up 30 minutes late, and froze when he saw me across the room. He pulled me aside. "What are you doing here?" Smiled. "Networking. Don't worry, I didn't bring your ex." His face went red, like full tomato red. And then magic happened. His boss came over. "Rachel, so good to see you. How's the marketing world?" I told him about my freelance work, my new apartment, how Bella was adjusting. And Jason just stood there. Until his boss, bless him, said, "Glad you two are still together. I always thought you kept him in line." And I, with every ounce of sweet poison, replied, "Oh, we're not together anymore. Haven't been for weeks. Ask him why." Then I walked away. Later that week, Zoe told me Jason had a talk with HR. Apparently, someone reported inappropriate behavior. An ex attending the gala alone after internal rumors of cheating. He didn't lose his job, but he lost a lot of trust. And at the next client mixer, he wasn't invited. Neither was Hannah. Jason was spiraling, losing control, watching the story fall apart from every angle. He lied to me, lied about me, lied to the people who believed in him. But we weren't done yet. I wish I could say Jason stayed quiet, that he sat in the ruins of our relationship and just faded out. But that's not how fragile egos work. Instead, he started telling his version of the story to anyone who would listen. Started on Instagram. He posted a blurry selfie at a bar with a caption, "Some people will build a narrative out of nothing. Just remember who stayed real when others lied." Subtle, right? But then came the real twist, the LinkedIn post. No. But Jason was always the kind of guy who tried to sound like a thought leader even while his life was imploding. He wrote a whole piece about emotional resilience and being betrayed by those closest to you. He never said my name, but everyone who knew us knew. Then he told a mutual friend that I was the one who blindsided him, that I'd kicked him out with no warning, that I'd planted evidence. You know, the photos I literally took of him and his ex on a date, during a weekend he claimed to be at his dad's place. He wanted sympathy, but he made one fatal mistake. He underestimated how many people I still had in my corner, and how well I document everything. Waited. I didn't post anything when he lied the first time, or the second, but when he publicly accused me of emotional manipulation, when he implied I was unstable, I took the gloves off. I wrote a calm, professional post on LinkedIn. It started like this. I usually stay quiet about personal matters, but when false narratives impact your professional image, silence becomes complicity. Then I laid it out. The timeline of our breakup, the exact dates of his fake family visit, how I discovered him on a date with his ex, the photos, the receipts, lease, and the fact that he wasn't evicted. I gave my notice and he just wasn't on the lease. No insults, no hashtags, no drama, just facts, wrapped in composure and ice. The post went viral, not celebrity viral, but industry viral. Hundreds of likes, dozens of comments, support from other women in tech and marketing saying, "We believe you. Thanks for handling this with class. This is why documentation matters." Few people tagged Jason directly. One even commented, This aged well, considering his post last week. And just like that, Jason's reputation in the local scene was toast. It didn't happen overnight. But slowly, the invitations stopped. He didn't get asked to present at the tech summit that year. The mentorship group he bragged about quietly removed him. Even his boss, the one I'd chatted with at the gala, posted a vague but pointed quote the next week. A man's character is defined by how he behaves when he thinks no one is watching. Oh, we were watching. And me. I was thriving. I got new freelance clients from people who'd seen my post and appreciated the professionalism. Zoe and I started a women's creative support circle to help other women navigate toxic breakups and career pivots. Bella was happy, safe, and spoiled in my new place. And Jason was still in that same apartment, now unfurnished and quiet, scrambling to repair an image that he destroyed. But just when I thought it was done, he reached out. He DM'd me. 3 words. Can we talk? I didn't reply. Instead, I posted a final tweet. You don't owe closure to people who lied about you. Some doors aren't meant to be opened. They're meant to be locked forever. But you know what they say? Hurt people hurt people. And Jason, he had one last desperate move up his sleeve. After everything, the lies, the public meltdown, the viral post that left him exposed, Jason should have walked away. But people like him, they don't walk away. They scramble. Try to grab on to anything to feel in control again. So, a few weeks after he messaged me asking if we could talk, and I didn't answer, he made his final desperate move. He tried to ruin my career. It started with whispers. A couple of clients I'd worked with in the past suddenly went cold. One even canceled a contract I was halfway through. I was confused at first. I hadn't missed deadlines. I hadn't had a single bad review. Then one of them, an older female client I really respected, reached out privately. Hey Rachel. Just so you know, someone sent me an anonymous tip claiming you stole your portfolio ideas from a former employer. Excuse me. I stared at the message. My stomach dropped. It was so obvious who it was. Jason knew I'd worked freelance. He knew what I pitched. And he knew I built my portfolio from scratch. So I asked, did they send anything specific? She forwarded me a PDF. And when I opened it, it was a doctored version of my own pitch deck, with someone else's company logo slapped on it. He literally tried to frame me for plagiarism. At that point, the part of me that had tried to stay professional, she died. Because this was slander. It wasn't just petty revenge anymore. It was career sabotage. And I had receipts. See, every file I'd created was time-stamped in cloud storage. Every deck had metadata. I even had client feedback emails on every stage of my process, including screenshots of when I presented each concept on Zoom. So I called up my client, the one who'd received the anonymous tip, and I calmly walked her through my backup folder. I appreciate you telling me, I said. Now, I just need to make sure no one else thinks that lie is true. She agreed. And that's when I did something I'd never done before. I went live. Not some dramatic tell, no. I hosted a free public webinar called Creative Theft, Digital Evidence, and How to Protect Your Work Online. I didn't name Jason. I didn't have to. I showed real examples, blurred names but clear proof, of what digital sabotage looks like in creative industries. How to spot fakes. How to preserve timestamps. How to protect IP. Hundreds of people showed up. And then, I uploaded the recording to LinkedIn and tagged the clients who'd stood by me. The response. Massive. Comments poured in. This is what leadership looks like. Thank you for sharing this, Rachel. Every freelancer should watch this. Some people really think they can erase receipts. Ha! And Jason. He sent me one last email. Subject line. Are you done yet? I didn't reply. But my lawyer did. Because yeah, I kept every screenshot, every PDF, every fake file he circulated. And she was more than happy to draft a cease and desist for defamation. He never responded to the cease and desist. But word got out. He stopped showing up at tech meetups. People he mentored pulled away. His LinkedIn, once filled with inspirational nonsense, went silent. One friend told me he applied to speak at a regional marketing event and was quietly rejected. Apparently, the organizers had concerns about his recent history. Wonder where those came from. As for me, I was thriving. The webinar led to more clients. I was invited to consult on IP protection for a startup accelerator. Even got featured in a podcast episode called Revenge with Receipts, The Woman Who Fought Back. And let's not forget Bella, still snoring beside me at night, still living her best dog life. I didn't just survive Jason's betrayal. I burned the bridge he tried to stand on, and then rebuilt it stronger, brick by brick, in front of everyone watching. You'd think this is where the story ends, but there's one last twist. Because life has a sense of humor. And karma. She never sleeps. A lot can change in a year. After Jason's last pathetic attempt to sabotage my career, things calmed down. The cease and desist shut him up. His name started disappearing from the circles we used to share. But me. I was building. One client turned into 3. 3 turned into a waiting list. I started a podcast, launched a monthly newsletter, and partnered with Zoe on her startup, an all-female creative collective. I was booked, busy, and finally breathing. I didn't talk about Jason anymore. Not because I forgave him, but because he stopped mattering. He was just a warning in my rearview mirror, a lesson in red flags, boundaries, and receipts. I was in a new apartment, new mindset, new me. Bella was thriving. And for the first time in years, I wasn't surviving. I was living. It happened in the most unexpected place. Professional panel event. I was invited to speak on branding and trust in digital spaces. There were maybe 60 people. Small room, cozy lighting, coffee bar in the back. I stepped onto the stage. Confident, polished, composed. The panel started. I was mid-sentence, explaining how trust is earned over time, but lost in moments, when my eyes scanned the audience. And I saw him, Jason, second row, looking a smaller. He wasn't wearing his usual confident smirk. No blazer, no laptop, just him, sitting there, staring. And I didn't flinch. After the panel, people came up to chat. I signed a few notebooks, handed out cards, thanked the organizers. Jason hovered near the back, like a shadow trying not to be seen. Eventually he approached. "Hi, Rachel." I looked him in the eye. "Jason." He smiled, soft, hopeful, awkward. "You were really great up there." "Thank you." "You look good." "I am good." He stood there like he wanted to say something more. Apologize. Beg. Rewrite the past. But I didn't give him that opening. "Take care of yourself," I said. And I walked away. People always ask me if I got closure. If seeing him again helped me heal. But here's the truth. Closure isn't something they give you. Something you give yourself. It's the choice to stop watering dead plants. To stop checking their feed. To stop needing the apology you know you'll never get. Jason didn't ruin me. He refined me. He forced me to grow. To set boundaries. To become someone who documents everything, protects her peace, and never lowers her standards for love or work ever again. Some people say revenge is petty, but sometimes it's just justice, with better timing. And I'll leave you with this. Never underestimate a woman with proof, patience, and a plan. Because we don't always scream. We don't always fight. Sometimes we just build. And then let you see what you lost from the outside looking in. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button, drop a fire in the comments, and tell me, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? And if you want more stories like this, raw, real, and worth every second, subscribe. Because next week, we've got one that's even colder.